sorry about the weird filming situation. I had to improvise with my filming methods because of technical issues. I also apologize for not posting a video in a couple weeks. I've been really busy with like schoolwork and seeing people and doing things and important stuff like that. And also I've been trying to make this video for a while, but I just wasn't really sure how to execute it or how to start it or anything. Recently, a person that I really respect and admire on YouTube posted an interview that inspired me to really start making this. They did an interview with Resolution Interviews. Hold on, my thing is falling over. And they basically talked about their gender identity, their life as a trans person, and things like that, and how being trans relates to their everyday life and how they're dealing with certain things. So it really got me inspired to make this. This video is mainly going to be me talking at you all about me, trans non-binary people in general, and certain things that cis people need to stop doing when it comes to thinking about trans and non-binary people. Well, first off, I doubt that really any of you watching this video have seen my older videos, or like watched me as in my older videos like from 2014, when I went by my birth name, which I don't particularly want to share here because it's not really needed, and use she, her pronouns. But now I go by the name Adrian, and I use he, him, his pronouns. I identify as gender fluid, meaning that I identify with multiple genders, or my gender identity fluctuates. In my case, I go mostly between IDing as trans male or trans masculine and genderless agender. You can usually use he, him, his pronouns for me. Like it's a catch-all, so like no matter what the situation, if you use those pronouns for me, I won't mind. But in certain times, or like when I talk about it or whatever, you can use they, them, and I don't mind. On to the big topics, things that cis people need to chillax about, or like things that cis people need to be aware of when it comes to trans and non-binary folks. Well, first of all, I know I personally get questions like, if you are trans masculine or like a trans male, as I ID'd once as a trans male, why don't you look like one? Meaning like, why don't you have your hairstyle be short, or why don't you bind, dress in traditionally masculine clothing, or whatever else. There are many reasons for trans people to not look like their gender identity, and most of those reasons are money. Some people can't afford to do that. Some people do not have the resources to bind their chest or get breast augmentations. They don't have money for certain things, especially if you're a minor. People not letting you, like being in a non-accepting household, or being in a situation where your parents don't let you cut your hair, or like grow out your hair, or like dress in a certain way, or act in a certain way, or present in a certain way, or just because they don't want to, or because they don't feel like it's needed. Like there are trans men that don't bind because it freaks them out, or because they don't feel it's needed and they can just wear sports bras or whatever else. With surgery also, like not everybody wants to get top and bottom surgery, and they don't feel like they want to, or they don't need to, and it's extremely disrespectful to assume that somebody will transition physically, or like present in a certain way because they identify a certain way. It's really rude, it's really screwed up, and it's like not something you should do ever. Non-binary people or genderless people or gender fluid people or anyone who identifies as non-binary do not need to present androgynously. It is not a requirement, and it is not something that you should assume a non-binary person does. Like, not every non-binary person has like super short hair and flat chest and presents like mad androgynous and stuff. Like, for the same reasons I mentioned earlier, like some people don't have the resources or the money, or like are not allowed to in their household, or like they just don't want to. It's not how they want to present themselves, and that's valid. It's totally fine. Not everybody does that. It's like, and it's fine to not want to. For any non-binary person who's seeing all these pictures of like androgynous non-binary people on the internet or whatever, it's totally fine. Present however you want, present however you can. Do what you need to or want to. It's totally valid, and you don't have to do what society really tells you to do when it comes to presentation. Also, in terms of labels and pronouns and things of that nature. Well, first of all, you don't have to like always know, you know? There are people that assume that all trans people know always that they're trans and that they're I don't know, born in the wrong body or whatever, but that's not always the case. There are plenty of people that start IDing or presenting or being out as trans in their teens or their 20s or even later than that, which is perfectly valid and perfectly alright. I only really started identifying as non-cis, for lack of a better word, when I was 15, and that was last October. And I'm 16 now, for anyone who wants to know. Not all trans people have to always know from when they were born, and it doesn't make them any less trans. Also, your transness or your label can change, and it's fine. When I first started questioning my identity, I thought I was agender. I identified as such, and then around January or February of 2015, I started identifying as a binary trans male. I used they them pronouns when I was agender, and I used he him pronouns when I identified as solely trans male. I think it was only this summer when I realized that I think the label that best fits me is gender fluid. Just because I identify as gender fluid now, it doesn't mean that I was any less of an agender person in October or any less of a trans male in February. And your label can change, and who you identify as what you identify as can change, and your pronouns can change, and that's perfectly valid and perfectly fine. And speaking of pronouns, if anyone tells you that you don't look like your pronoun, or like that your pronouns are not real or your pronouns are dumb, like, screw them. They don't get to decide what you identify as. They don't get to tell you like that you're invalid, your identity is invalid. Like, your identity is valid, like, no matter what it is. It's fine to identify as whatever you want to identify as. It's fine. I don't really know how else to say it better. It's perfectly fine. The overall kind of moral, I guess, of this video is that no matter what you identify as, no matter what pronouns you use, no matter how you present, wear your hair, wear your clothes, whatever kind of surgery or lack thereof you want to get, or however you want to be as a trans person, it's valid. You are a person, and don't let anyone else tell you otherwise. This is kind of a serious video. I promise I'm going to be making more, like, less sort of serious videos in the future. But I just felt like this was something that had to sort of be introduced to the world, not just for me, but for other trans kids who are unsure or who are questioning or who need to know that their identity or whatever is valid and okay. And so in case anybody needs any help, I want to like be able to be there for people that need help. Like this video, I guess, and subscribe to get the word out, I guess. I'm going to be traveling for the next week I won't be uploading another video until probably after school starts. So, sorry about that. So follow all my social media. I'm going to link it in the description. And I'm also going to leave some resources for trans people or trans kids in the description box. Because, I mean, there are always people that need it. So yeah, I guess. Goodbye. I'll see you soon.